What would you do if you got lost in the woods? Sounds bad, right? Now imagine it's not just some local forest. It's the Amazon jungle, and within the very first second, you're captured by a wild tribe tied to a totem pole with vines and have spears pointed right at you. How on earth did our hero, Mark, end up in this crazy mess? It all started so well. Mark came to the Amazon as part of a research group. Just a regular hike, beautiful views, great company, but the jungle does not forgive carelessness. Mark got distracted for just a minute, looking at a rare purple flower and then squatting down to tie his bootlace. When he raised his head and stood up, the trail was completely empty. He screamed and called for help, but the thick wall of greenery swallowed any sound. A terrifying realization hit him. He was all alone in the middle of an endless green ocean. Knowing that panic means death, Mark pulled himself together. Barely moving his legs from exhaustion, he found a fallen, moss-covered log, sat down, and opened his backpack to assess his chances. It wasn't much, but it was all he had left. A dry change of clothes, his trusty army knife, a lighter, a canteen with some water left, and a couple of emergency food rations. Methodically laying out his gear, he planned his next steps. Ahead lay his first, coldest, and most terrifying night. The night jungle came alive with terrifying noises. First things first, Mark built a small shelter, gathering huge palm leaves to protect himself from the rain. Instead of a bed, he made a mattress out of dry fern. Next came the battle for fire. The wet branches refused to burn, and the damp lighter only gave off weak sparks. But persistence won. A tiny spark turned into a life-saving campfire. Morning brought a new problem. Not a single drop of water was left in his canteen. Hacking his way through the brush with his knife, Mark found a forest stream, but drinking raw water here is pure suicide. The guy showed some real resourcefulness. He built a makeshift filter using a plastic bottle, charcoal from his fire, sand and pebbles, and then boiled the purified water in a metal cup. Having enjoyed the clean water and split his food ration in half, Mark checked his map, put out the fire, and moved on. With every hour, the jungle grew more aggressive. Mark's leg sank deep into a patch of quicksand, and he had to fight with everything he had just to pull himself out. Swarms of mosquitoes literally covered him, and to save himself, he had to smear his face and hands with wet clay. A bit later, a venomous snake lay coiled right above his head, and only a split-second reaction saved him from a deadly bite. But the real horror was still ahead. A hungry jaguar stepped silently out of the fern bushes. The wild cat crouched to spring, and Mark ran faster than he ever had in his life. He sprinted through thorny branches until he hit a cliff edge. There was no choice. A leap of faith into a raging river. The current dragged him over the rocks, barely letting him breathe, but Mark managed to grab a hanging vine and pull himself onto the bank. He wrung out his soaking wet yellow jacket and suddenly noticed fresh footprints of human boots in the sand. Following the tracks, Mark stumbled upon an abandoned research station. It was pitch black inside, but on a table stood an old radio transmitter. There was no power. Under the pouring rain, cursing everything, Mark found a generator outside, got the old engine sputtering, and returned to the radio. Stripping the broken wires with his knife, he powered up the system and broadcasted an SOS signal. The rescuers picked up his coordinates. After spending the night on a dry bed, Mark set out to prepare the evacuation site. He cleared the concrete pad of vines and built 3 massive signal fires. Thick white smoke rose high above the canopy. And then, the long-awaited roar of rotor blades. A red rescue helicopter hovered over the station. The pilots dropped a rope ladder, and Mark finally left this green hell behind. It seemed like the story was over. Back home, incredible fame awaited Mark. A hot shower, airport hugs, TV appearances, a best-selling book about his survival, and a medal for courage. He even lectured students. But as he unpacked his old backpack at home, Mark realized the Amazon hadn't let him go. He spent hours over maps, bought brand new high-tech survival gear, and made the decision to go back. Another plane, another endless green ocean under the wing, and a parachute jump right into the abyss. Getting tangled in the branches, he technically rappelled down to the ground. But this time, Mark was prepared. He quickly oriented himself with a compass, set up a perfect camp, built a fire, and peacefully drank hot tea while looking up at the starry sky. The next morning, Mark confidently pushed deeper into the wildest thickets. The scale of nature no longer scared him. He bypassed quicksands by testing the ground with a stick, waited out tropical downpours under secure leaf canopies, and slept safely on tree branches. Standing on top of a high cliff, he looked out over the boundless Amazon jungle, a colossal place where people go missing all the time, and about which cult movies are made. Descending to the river, Mark built a sturdy raft out of logs and vines, and confidently floated down the current toward the sunset. The Amazon is a harsh and dangerous world, but Mark proved that human will and the thirst for adventure can never be broken. His journey continues.